All right, welcome back. So in 2016, Supremacy was released, the second volume, and remember that the Victories and Supremacy, those are two standalone games. They do not require each other to play. But in 2018, GMT Games and Lee Birmingham Wood released the first actual expansion pack for Wing Leader Victories for the first volume of the game. So this game content, Wing Leader Blitz, required that you have and own Wing Leader Victories, and this just came in a bag, not a box, and it just adds more content to the Wing Leader Victories volume. So what we have here is a lot of new aircraft data cards, and this gave you, in addition to some new aircraft data cards, Blitz also updated some of the aircraft data cards that came in Victories. So again, this game system is living. Lee is not only activating or developing new content, but he's also modifying or improving on the earlier content. And so with Blitz, you have one sheet of ADCs that are new, brand new, not at all seen in the first two. Can't even think of the word right now. The two first base games. These are new ADCs, and these are a second sheet of updated aircraft data cards. So let's take a look at these. And for Soviet fans, this first expansion adds those early Soviet aircraft that were lacking or missing from Victories. So what we have here for the Soviets is the I-153 Shaika biplane fighter, the two variants of the I-16, the Ishaks, or the Radas, the I-16 Type 5 and Type 24, the MiG-3 fighter, and then two medium bombers, the SB and the DB-3F IL-4 bomber. For the Americans, there's an addition of the P-36A Hawk, kind of a forerunner of the P-40. And this one was you'll kind of see used by a lot of smaller nations in scenarios. P-39D Air Cobra. The British get the a lesser-known aircraft, the Fulmar Mark I fighter, which for myself, being a avid World War II air combat fan, this is an aircraft I was not familiar with. So it's really neat to see all the different types of aircraft coming together in this system. The French get their introduction in Blitz, which I was really excited to see because French aircraft usually get very little attention in air combat games, but we have the MB-152 fighter, MS-406 fighter, the D-520, and then two bombers, the BRE-693 light bomber and the Leo-451 medium bomber. And then the Italians get another really neat fighter, the RE-2001, the Falco. And then the Japanese get another early monoplane, the Ki-27B Nate. So those are the new aircraft data cards that were introduced with Blitz. Again, Blitz also came with some aircraft data cards that are meant to replace the ones that came in Victories. So they are marked with version 2.0. So you would literally just take your version 1.0 ones, set these aside, and use these going forward. So just updated stats, as well as information on the back and variants. So on just a few, not all the aircraft and Victories, just the major changes to aircraft. Lee has always made available on his website, the designer website, the newest edition of the aircraft data cards. So even for those of you who maybe don't have Blitz or some of the newer content, you can go check out what changes have been made to these aircraft and the 80 seats. But again, I can't emphasize enough that if you have just Victories, it's not a broken game. If you have the first edition, it's extremely playable, and the only changes, they're fairly minor, and they're just meant to give you a more accurate and a better representation, a more refined product in the game. So go ahead and check these out, though, because these are well worth the going after these expansions. A lot of new content, not just in ADCs but in scenarios. Let's take a look at what else Blitz gives you. Wing Leader Blitz covers some of the early war, a little earlier than you see in Victories. In particular, there's going to be some scenarios for France in 1940, as well as you see some scenarios from 1939. So, yeah, right here. Rocket attack. This scenario takes place in the 1939. So before the outbreak of or actually the official outbreak that we think of in World War II was this conflict between the Japanese and the Soviets. So some neat additions, some French scenarios, and even there's a mini campaign in these scenarios. 3 linked scenarios on Operation Pedestal, and it's a neat little system. You can play the scenarios individually, or you can play them all together linked, where the effects of the outcome of the earlier scenarios carry over to the next scenarios. So you've got a Operation Pedestal morning, midday, and then evening, and some instructions on how to link them. So you get really 10 new scenarios in Wing Leader Blitz, but kind of the big thing that was added that everybody was excited about was a campaign system, Drive on Kiev, and you get it's a 6-day or 6-turn campaign that hopefully we'll be able to look more detail in a future video. It's really neat, and I got the privilege of playtesting this. Really enjoyable experience, but again, people were really starting to ask for a system like this, a campaign system that would give you some really neat strategy choices over a longer period of scenarios, with the opportunity to greatly affect future or the next and oncoming scenarios by how you perform in the earlier scenarios. So you're tracking losses, you're tracking damage on targets, and the Germans are ultimately trying to push through to win a victory and reach Kiev. And we'll explain this more in detail, but Wing Leader Blitz introduced the first full-fledged campaign system, and in addition to that, you get a play aid that explains the various charts and tables that you'll roll on for the campaign, as well as a detailed sequence of play for how you play through it. So there you have it. There's the content for Wing Leader Blitz that was released in 2018, just last year. And now shifting to the new arrivals. This year, 2019, we've just got the 2 new releases, and I'll go ahead and start with expansion number 2. So this is Wing Leader Eagles, and this, like Blitz was an expansion for Victories, Wing Leader Eagles is an expansion for Supremacy, the second module for the game, second volume. And so this does require that you own Supremacy to play, but does a very similar thing that Blitz does. Adds new aircraft, new scenarios, but also a campaign system. This is brand new. I have, again, been able to play test some of this content, but I really haven't gotten this out too much to look at it. I just got it in the mail. I was kind of holding off exploring it until I could get this video going. So let's go ahead and take a look here at what we have in Wing Leader Eagles. All right. So here we've got the scenario book, 23 new aircraft, 22 new scenarios, 22, you know, this and the future expansion that are coming out are really blowing the top off the number of new introduced scenarios. This one was 22. The next oncoming expansion, Origins, which is probably going to come out next year, has a lot of scenarios added. So quite a lot of new content in here. Wing Leader Eagles. I just gotta say, just from play testing this one and getting an advanced view of the content, really we've got a new standard here. Wing Leader has been developing over all these years, and this is kind of in mine, and I know in Lee's and several other people's opinions, this is kind of a representative of the maturity the system has gotten to with the refined the design of the scenarios, the content, some really neat and new concepts. Not in rules, no new rule changes, but in the scenarios, how they play out, the situations you find in are really neat. So here you go. This does have a campaign system included, a new campaign system. The Fortress Raboul campaign. So the first part of this booklet gives you the rules, just like in Blitz, the rules for playing the scenario. And then when we get into the scenarios, we've got a lot of new content and some really, really neat scenarios that are a lot of fun to play. And what you get is some scenarios, you'll see here, 4 of them, that have this plus symbol. And when you see that symbol, that's just an indication that there is content that from Victories that is required to play those scenarios. So they do give you some scenarios that bridge Supremacy and Victories. So that's a pretty neat addition, but not so many, just 4. So it's, again, if all you have is Supremacy, it's not like you're losing out a lot. It's just 4 scenarios. But again, I highly encourage you to get out there and pick up Victories as well, especially that the 2nd edition has just been released, and we'll look at that in just a little bit. All right, so there you have it. Wing Leader Eagles, the scenario book and the campaign instruction. I'm sorry, I'll stop hitting the table. I'm shaking everybody and probably making you dizzy. All right, inside here we've got another bag. Let me pop this open. We'll take a look. All right. Oh, this is exciting. All right. Here we have the play aid for the campaign system, Fortress Raboul. The charts, the tables that you'll roll on, as well as a sequence of play. This one's just single-sided, not double-sided, like the Blitz one was. Here we have the actual campaign map, which, this is a actual thicker cardstock. The Blitz campaign map was more paper. This is a nice thick cardstock. So here you go. Here's Fortress Raboul. That's bad glare. The actual campaign chart. It's pretty neat. I'm really excited to get to play this through. I got to play test it a little bit, but it's neat to actually have the physical copy in your hand. This looks so beautiful. All right. Good stuff. A lot of content in this game. I'm looking forward to going through with you guys in future episodes. Again, make sure that you post in the comments any requests or questions you may have about rules or something you'd like to see in this series. Okay, here we go with the first. Oh, we already got a counter popping out. eager to get on the table. See if I can pop that back in. There we go. All right, so there's the sheet of new counters that come with Eagles. I just love looking at these things. Lee just does a phenomenal job with the artwork in here. Spend a lot of time looking at these, but I can't do that for sake of time. Let's keep moving. But man, these are really great to look at. There's some markers for the campaign system. Some new experts. Hopefully Lee uploads a new file. It's got the detailed bios on these specific pilots, because it's always neat to read up on these guys. All right, there you have it. And here we go. Stars of the show. New aircraft data cards. Oh, these are so cool. These are so cool. Oh, look at this. Oh man, they're just popping right out. Well, I got them. We'll just pop them out. No point keeping them in there. All right, Germans. The heavy bomber, the HE-177 Grief. This thing is cool. Wow. Look at that. Look at that defense rating. Look at that firepower rating. Pretty cool bomber. Looking forward to seeing this on the table. There's the HS-129B2 light bomber, the ME-210 fighter, and the really cool ME-163B1 Comet. This thing has special rules for it on rocket aircraft. So these things are pretty ridiculous. They don't follow the normal altitude bands that you're familiar with on all the other ADCs. We'll talk about this and hopefully get to play the scenarios that this guy's included in, and we'll show you how these guys work. But there you go. There's the new German aircraft. For the Soviets, we got a Yak-3, Yak-9U, so two new Yak variants. Get to add these to the others that you find in Supremacy and Victories. And then the Tu-2 medium bomber and the La-7. Very cool Soviet aircraft. All right. Here we've got the Japanese with the Ki-44, Ki-45, Ki-48, Ki-100, Ki-49. Aircraft types maybe you're not as much familiar with. Ones for sure I'm not as familiar with. Really neat stuff. And the British get the Firefly, the Barracuda, and another Mosquito, Mark 6. Way cool. All right, and then, ooh, a lot of people are excited about these. Sweden gets its introduction. Swedish, they get their fighters, the J-22s, light bomber, B-17A, not to be confused with the American B-17 Flying Fortress, and the B-18 light bomber. Really excited to see these on the table. And then the Americans get another early P-51 Mustang, early variant, B-25, C-47 Skytrain. Yes, we've been waiting for that very iconic aircraft. P-47N Thunderbolt, very late war variant. Look at that speed. That's beautiful. And the FM2 Wildcat. So there you have it. There is the content for Wing Leader Eagles. So looking forward to getting some of these scenarios played and getting to show you guys some examples of play from these scenarios. All right, let me put this aside. And now just to conclude, we'll bring out what also was just released this year, Wing Leader Victories 2nd edition. Now, since I had the 1st edition, I purchased the upgrade kit, so you don't need to actually buy the full-fledged game, but they also released the boxed version of the 2nd edition, which I did not get, so I'm interested to see some unboxing videos out there. I don't know if they got a deeper box for Victories. I didn't really pay attention to what they're doing there, but hopefully someone posts that soon. So here we've got Wing Leader 2nd edition, version 2.2. And you may be thinking, well, why did we go from 2.0 in Supremacy to 2.2? And that's because Lee has been posting on his website new additions to the rules as they've been improved, refined. He's been releasing PDF versions, digital copies of the rules, and you probably saw version 2.1 and a 2.1. There were a whole bunch of ones, but this is kind of the latest and greatest refined rules 2.2 for the entire Wing Leader system to be used with all the content you have to date. So this is nice. I've been using for a long time PDFs when playing this game, and it's nice to actually have the printed physical copy of the rule book. I'm so used to using PDFs. And so there you have it, the new rules. Huh. Very cool, very cool. All right, so in the update kit, now again, I'll have to, hopefully someone else out there will post an unboxing of the actual 2nd edition boxed set. But what you get in the update kit, we can go over. So here we've got the updated aircraft data cards. You do get all of them, all the aircraft data cards that you receive in the boxed edition. You just get the 2nd edition of them. So we won't look at these in detail, but you will notice that these are all the same aircraft that you have in Victories 1st edition, but you will see down in the bottom the version 2.0 on most of these, but you'll see like a version 2.2. That's because the F4 Wildcat, in addition to the version 1, which came out in obviously the first printing of Victories, there was a version 2.0 that came out with Blitz. When the Blitz expansion came out, they gave you an updated aircraft data card for the F4, and like the P40B. And so here we've got 2.2, because again, these ADCs, Lee keeps updating them, has kept updating them. He's got them where he wants them now, so there's really no fear, my understanding of them changing again. But if they do change, he's always real good about posting on the website any changes, so you can have those. But he spent a lot of time refining all the aircraft data cards across the whole system, and he's got them where he wants them so that they're really refined. And they match the statistics as you would expect them through the version Victories and Supremacy over the many years now. This has been out since 2015, just the refined smoothing over of all the ADCs, and they are now consistent, the ratings. And we're going to go over how these things work, and hopefully I'll be able to explain adequately in the next video I'm hoping to do about what these are actually representing, these speed, turn, climb, and all these ratings. You will see a new thing, a new capability on many of the aircraft in version 2, or 2nd edition, I should say. And this is going to carry over when we see Supremacy eventually reprinted, and the expansions, if those ever get a 2nd edition printed too. Some of the aircraft are getting an edge rating, which we'll explain later. But this was added to provide some more variety in the classes of aircraft. In the instances where you had aircraft that are borderline, on their speed ratings, maybe there's an aircraft that was in between a 4 and a 5, or a 3 and a 4. Edge capability was added by Lee to really give you some more variety for those aircraft that kind of rested right on a borderline of performance. But not a huge game changer, but I really like the addition. So here, no new aircraft data cards. Well, what am I saying? I guess there's new aircraft data cards. Duh. But you get all the ones from 1st edition of the game at their newer editions. But then with the second edition of the game, you get some new content. You get 4 new ADCs, as well as the flights and squadrons. This is the sheet that is the only counter sheet you get in the update kit, because all the other sheets of counters and markers and squadrons, they're identical from the first printing of the game, the first edition. So second edition update kit just gives you what you need to bring your first edition of the game up to second edition. But you do get the Whirlwind. This is super cool aircraft for the British. The Swordfish Mark 1 torpedo bomber, and the Ju-52 transport, as well as an LA-5 fighter. And you do get all the updated targets, the ground targets. See, there you go. There's that star. So this brings your ground targets for Victories up to the same standard, the same version that you see in Supremacy. So these are what you were supposed to replace for the first printing targets with, as they have the same stats, the improved stats, balanced stats that Supremacy had for its ground targets. So, and gun pods, how those work has actually changed since first printing, so you do get the counters that explain the different modifiers that gun pods and AT pods use. So hopefully we'll get to explain that soon. All right, and let me set this aside. Here is a black and white cardstock explanation of how to update your first edition to second edition Victories. And you've got your version 2.2 player aids. So there's the two matching play aids for 2 players, and then your sequence of play, bombing, flak, all at the 2.2 edition. Now, with second edition, you do get a battle display like you get in Supremacy, so that's added both to the new second edition printing base game as well as the expansion pack. And then you do get another paper map. Now, I need to take a look at this real quick just so we can verify what I suspect the only change is. Yeah, the only change is they give you, again, like on the Supremacy map board, they give you the turn boxes, which were lacking from the first edition printing of the game. So nothing really different, just another paper map. If maybe you've been wearing out your first one, here you go. I think for the box edition, the map is mounted like on Supremacy, but again, I'm not sure, so you may want to wait and see from other people's comments and posting an unboxing review of the actual box edition. And here you go. Here's Wing Leader Victories scenario book for the second edition. Updated counter, updated art on the front. I love these the artwork by Antonis Carides. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but I always love his artwork. It is just, it's just so cool. Just immerses you into the game. So there you go. There's the credits. Yeah, there's me right there. All right. So on the back, and this is something to note, in the scenario book, there is a what's changed in second edition. They really go through and explain all the changes that have been made since the first edition of the rules. So if you're jumping into this game, if you're new to this game system, you don't really need to know these, but if you've been playing this game from the beginning, it's helpful to see these changes and what things have changed since the beginning. So you have all the same scenarios, but let me just say there's been a lot of work that's gone into rebalancing the scenarios. We went through and we play tested all these to make sure that the scenarios are still balanced from the rule changes that were made. Again, most of them didn't need a lot of work. Some of them just need a little bit of tweaking to make them balanced. So here you'll see version 2.0, for example, for the scenarios that changed. But all the same scenarios, except, let me get here to the end, they expanded it. Yeah, okay, so the first edition stopped at scenario 23, but then Lee had posted a number of scenarios on his designer website that were just freebies, extra content you could download and play, and these were included, rebalanced and included in the second edition printed copy. So there you go, you get them included, but again they're rebalanced from the ones that were originally published on his website. So there are 4 of those: Operation Flax, Singapore Sling, Hasn't Ivan Learned Anything, and White Cliffs. Those were the ones that were available on his website from the beginning. But then there's some totally new, completely new scenarios that make use of the new aircraft data cards that come with second edition. So you have Channel Dash, and there you've got the Swordfish. So there's your Swordfish and the Whirlwinds. Damietsk Pocket, and there you've got Ju-52s. Stalingrad Outskirts. Here you got your LA-5s. So there you have it. New content. 1, 2, 3. So this brings Victories second edition up to a total of 30 scenarios that come with it. So, man, quite a lot of new content. But hope to go through in more detail changes in specific to the rules. But for now, I think that's going to conclude this first episode. I know it was very long. It's probably going to be several parts that I actually upload because it got really long. But hopefully this gives you a helpful overview of where this system has come from its beginning in 2015 to today, where we now have second edition released. So please put comments if you liked it, what you'd find more helpful in future episodes, what you'd like to see, any suggestions for me as a video maker, because again, like I said, this is my first attempt ever to make a video and post it on YouTube, so I have no idea what I'm doing really. But hopefully this is a help and a start to many videos to come on Wing Leader, the game system Wing Leader. I love this system. It needs more attention, I think. More people have been asking for videos about this. So please give me any comments you prefer to give about where you'd like to see this go, and hopefully the next episode will focus more on the basics, and before we get into some actual playthroughs, and check back for new content. Thanks for watching.